Okay, in this video we're going to be using point slope form to start with on almost all of these problems. We're given here a point and we're given a slope, and that's your clue that point slope form is going to be needed. Point slope form looks like this. And we're going to be plugging the opposite of x1 down there and the opposite of y1 up there, and the slope goes in front of the parentheses. So the template for this looks like this. There's your two variables, your x and y, and everything else will be numbers that we plug in. I'm going to plug that slope in first. Then I'm going to plug the opposite of x1 down here and the opposite of y1 up here. Now we'd be done, except they asked for this in slope-intercept form, so we're going to have to do a little bit of distributing, and from there we've got to get the y equals by itself, okay? So this will be y plus 5, and you get negative 2/3 x plus 4/3. And we'll add subtract 5 from both sides. Now, unfortunately here we got some nasty fractions to deal with on this side. 4/3, and it's going to be minus 5, but I'm going to write it with a common denominator. And you can see that I wrote down 15/3, but that's 5. And the reason I did that is we have a common denominator now of 3 underneath those. So you end up with y equals negative 2/3 x minus 11/3. And there's the slope-intercept form of that line. Okay, on this next one here, we're given a line to start with, and we're supposed to make another line that's perpendicular to that. Well, our slope that we're given on the first one was negative 3/5. So that means the slope we want to use has got to be the opposite reciprocal of that. So turn it upside down and change it to a positive value. There is your slope, and here's your x1 and y1 that we're going to plug in. Okay, let me set up the template here for point slope form. We're going to use a 5/3 for the slope, and the opposite of 6 down here, and the opposite of negative 4 there. And we'll be distributing here to change to slope-intercept form. When you take 5/3 times negative 6, you get negative 10. You can think of 6 divided by 3 times 5. Now, subtracting 4 from both sides will finish the job here. There's your y equals mx plus b. Negative 14 is your b value. Okay, that one's done. All right, on the next one, we want to be parallel to this line. Now, it's inconvenient they didn't give us the slope here, so we're going to first find the slope. And we'll do that by solving for y. And we find out that y equals negative 2/5 x minus 3 is equivalent to the line they gave us. Now, since we're supposed to be parallel to this line, we're going to use that slope again. In other words, our slope is going to be equal to it. Parallel lines have equal slopes. So now we're ready to plug in the template. We're going to have negative 2/5 for our slope. The opposite of the 5 goes here, and that's the x1 right there. The y1, its opposite is negative 2. And all we have to do is distribute here, and we're on our way. Negative 2/5 times 5 is negative 2. And if you add 2 to both sides, you get y equals negative 2/5 x plus 0. And that one is done. Okay, on this next one here, you would have the same process, except that you first have to find the slope, and I think I'm going to continue this in the next video since the bell's about to ring. So next video is what I'll put on this.